Hey y'all, we have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to just jump right into it. I'll have to make up for it with the TikTok dance in my next video, but we're going to go ahead and get started today because we have a lot to cover. So, let's get into it. What is the solution to the system of equations shown in the graph below? So remember, when we are finding the system of equations, it is where they cross, okay? So these two lines cross at this point, and that is at +3, +6. So our x value is 3, our y value is +6. Which of the following sequences of transformations results in similar but not congruent figures? This is our clue, not congruent. Because it is congruent means the same, so if it is not congruent, then they are not the same. We are looking for this keyword dilation. When you dilate something, you make it bigger or smaller. So if we have a dilation, it is going to be similar, but it is not going to be congruent. It is not going to be the exact same size. So anytime it says dilation, that is what we are going to check off. So B, C, and F are going to be our correct answers here. Oops. Ah! Okay, two similar triangles are shown below. What is the measure of angle M? So this angle is 52 degrees. So that means that this angle is also 52 degrees. We know that this box means 90 degrees. And the total amount of all three angles in a triangle is 180. So what we need to do is 180 minus 90 minus 52. And that will give us our last angle, which would be angle M. Okay, you can use a calculator on this part. So we'll just put this into our calculator, 180 minus 90 minus 52, and that will give us 38. So our answer is 38 degrees. Remember, we are talking about angle measurements, so it is going to be in degrees. I did say that in the question as well. Two functions are represented below. Use the information to answer the questions. What is the rate of change? Remember, rate of change is just another word for slope, or another phrase for slope. So what is the rate of change or the slope for function 1? Remember, our slope is, if we have y equals mx plus b, this is our slope, our m. So that would be 8/5 here. What is the rate of change for function 2? So again, we have to find the rate of change for function 2. We're first going to find the change in y. 13 to 16 is plus 3. 16 to 19 plus 3. 7 to 9 is plus 2. 9 to 11 is plus 2. So remember, it's a change in y over the change in x. So function 2's rate of change or slope is 3/2. Then it says, what is the greater rate of change? Remember, we can cross multiply to compare fractions, and these are essentially just fractions. So to compare them, I'm going to cross multiply here. So 2 times 8 gives me 16, and 5 times 3 gives me 15. So that means 8/5 is bigger than 3/2. So what function, it didn't ask for the fraction or the slope or the rate of change, it said what function has a greater rate of change. That would be function 1. There are other ways you could compare these two. You could have also changed them both to decimals and then compared your decimal forms. Whatever is easiest for you. Sorry, my nose itches. A cylinder with a height of 2 1/4 inches and a radius of 3 inches is shown. What is the volume of the cylinder in cubic inches? Use 3.144 pi. Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Oops. Okay, so let's go with sky blue. Okay, so we are trying to find the volume. Okay, so volume Sorry, my dog was barking. Okay, so we need to use the volume formula, which is pi r squared times the height. So our volume is equal to, we're going to use 3.14 for pi. Our radius is 3 inches. That's this. That's terrible. This is our radius here. So radius squared means 3 times 3. And then our height is 2 1/4. I would personally change this to decimals because in my opinion decimals are a little bit easier to work with. So 2 1/4, I know in my head that that is 2.25. 1/4 is simply 1/4, and 1/4 is worth 25 cents, so 0.25. So 2.25. And then you're just going to multiply, so sorry, multiply all of these together. I'm pretty sure it's allergies. It's just like a tickle on my nose. 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 2.25, and you get, oops, 63 585 thousandths. So we do need to round that. We want to round to the nearest tenth if necessary. This is the tenths place, so we're going to look behind it. That 8 is enough to bump that 5 up. So it's going to be 63 6/10. And we are talking volume, so it will be inches cubed. The right square pyramid shown below has a side length S of 25 centimeters and a slant height of 32 centimeters. What is the height, h, in inches? Use 3.14 for pi. We won't be needing pi for this problem, but we are wanting to use a squared plus b squared equals, c squared. The Pythagorean theorem will help us find one of our side lengths of our triangle. So this side length is 30. That's our c squared. So 30 squared. And then 25 is the whole length. We don't want the whole length. We want half of it. So we want to do 25 divided by 2, which is 12.5. So then we have 12.5 squared. And then we want to add that to a squared. So 12.5 squared . 12.5 times 12.5. 12.5 times 12.5. My hands were working a little too quickly. Okay, 156 25/100ths. Okay, and then we have 30 squared, which is 900. We want to start off by getting a squared by itself, so we're going to subtract both sides by 156 25/100ths. You can use a calculator to do this. 900 minus 156 25/100ths, 743 75/100ths. Now to find a, right now this is a squared. To find a, we are just getting the square root of that number. So you should have a square root button on your calculator. If you're using a phone calculator. Okay, so we got 27 27/100ths. Oh, we're rounding to the nearest tenths. So 7, 8, and so on. So if we're rounding to the nearest tenths place, that's this place value, we're going to look behind it. That 7 is enough to bump that up to a 3. So it is going to be 27 3/10, and we are looking at centimeters. And remember, it is just a length. So you are not going to be squaring it or cubing it. It is not, you're not finding the area, you are not finding the volume. It is just one side length, so you are just going to leave it as centimeters. Excuse me. Okay, for this one, it says the figure below shows the location of Tanya's house and the library. What is the distance between the two locations? Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So, that's the distance that we want to find. In order to find that, so hard to do straight lines here. We can make a triangle, and so we are finding the C of this triangle. So I need to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we are trying to find c squared. So my a is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 squared, and my b is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 9 squared. So 7 squared is 7 times 7, which is 49. 9 squared is 9 times 9, which is 81. And that is all equal to c squared. So we can do 49 plus 81, and we get 130. And remember, 130 is equal to c squared. We want just c. So in order to find just c, we need to find the square root of this number. So you're going to press the square root button, and you get this long number. And just because it's a long number does not mean it's a large number. This is just a little more than 11. This is 11 point something, right? So just because it has all of these numbers behind it does not mean it is a big, gigantic number. It's not. It's a little bit bigger than 11. So just remember that when we're working with long numbers. Anytime I say long numbers, I don't mean a big number. Okay, so we are rounding to the 10th place again. So the 4 is in the 10th place. We're going to look behind it. That 0 is not enough to bump that 4 up. So it's just going to be 11 and 4/10. And we're just talking units here. It did not say how what the units are equal to. It didn't say that each square is equal to 1 mile. It didn't say anything like that. So we're just speaking in units for now. Okay, it says, what is the measure of angle B? So we were trying to find this angle measure. And the way we can do that is subtracting these two numbers. We have one on the outside, and then they've given us one on this side. We are just subtracting those two. So 142 minus 101. Okay, so we've got 41 degrees. Now, you can double check this work by doing, this is 180, so you could do 180 minus 142, which would give you this length. And then you could do 180 minus 101 minus this length, and it'll give you 41 degrees. So you could do that as well, and that would still give you the same answer. But the shortened version is just subtracting those two numbers. Okay, the function m equals negative 25w plus 100 represents the amount of money m being withdrawn from a checking account over w weeks. Use the function to answer the questions. Is the function increasing or decreasing? Well, we see that it's a negative slope here, so we do know that it is decreasing. Anytime you see a negative slope, it means it's decreasing or going down. Is the function linear or nonlinear? It is linear. Okay, we've got a slope, so we do know that it is linear here. Oh, goodness, I'm so sorry. I think I need some Benadryl or something. I don't know. What is the rate of change of the function? So remember, rate of change is just your slope, so that is negative 25. And then what is the initial value? The initial value is just your y-intercept. So that is 100. Okay, the two trapezoids shown below are similar. Describe the series of transformations that would map trapezoid ABCD and onto trapezoid JKLM. So we are starting here and then moving to this one. And how we would do that is we would start by translating, which just means sliding, to the right. It just means we're sliding it to the right. And then we are going to dilate it with a scale factor of 2. And then because we're going from 3 to 6, our scale factor is going to be 2 because we have to enlarge it by 2. You could have also done those backwards. You could have dilated it first and then translated it. Either way. Draw a line of best fit, and I'm terrible with this on this thing that I'm drawing on, so my apologies if it is not very straight. You want yours to be as straight as possible. Oh no. I hate when I do this. There we go. Sorry. Okay, you want your line to be very straight. My line is very curvy because it is hard to draw on here. But use a ruler, make your line as straight as possible to find the line of best fit. But it should be in the middle of all those dots that are going up. Okay, it says which of the numbers below could represent the sides of a right triangle? Remember right triangles, we've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So the first thing I'm going to do is find each of these squared. So 8 squared is 64. 9 squared, 81. 12 squared, 144. 15 squared, I believe that's 225. I should double check though. Yes. And then we've got 16 squared, so 16 times 16 is 256, and I believe 17 squared is 289, but I will double check that. Also, 17 times 17, yes, 289. Okay, so same goes over here. They've given you 2 columns because there are two different right triangles you could have come up with these numbers. So you can have this one or this one. And when you're doing it on FSA, they will probably not expect you to do both. It's one or the other. But both of them could be correct. Okay? So we need to start adding some of these together to see if they will get a third one. So if I added 64 plus 81, that gives me 145. That's not any of these. So I'm going to add 64 plus 144 and see what I get. That's 208. Again, that's not going to give me any one of these. I'm going to add 64 plus 225. That does give me 289, so that worked. 64 plus, I think that was 225, right? Yes, 64 plus 225 does give me 289. So A, D, and F are some that would work. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again over here. We're still using the same numbers. Okay, so let's see the other 3 that would work. Let's try 144 plus 225. That's too big. So let's try 81 plus 144. That is 225, so that will work. 81, 144, and then 225. So B, C, and D would also be a correct right triangle. The cost C to rent a car for D days is shown in the table. Write an equation to represent the function. So really we're just wanting a y equals mx plus b. But instead of the y and the x, we're wanting to use the d and the c. So C equals dx plus b is essentially what we're doing. The slope is going to go in front of the x, and then your y-intercept will go where your b is. So to get from 168 to 286, I'm going to subtract to find that difference. So 286 minus 168 gives me 118. And just to make sure that the same is true for the last one, I added 118 to 286 to make sure that I got 404. Okay, and over here I'm just adding 2. Okay, so this is our slope. We put our change in y over our change in x. So we have 118. That was terrible. 118 divided by 2. And if I did that, 118 divided by 2 gives me 59. 59. Okay, so now I'm going to put 59 in for D and see if I get my C. So C equals 59 times X, and then see what we get. So we're going to put the 2 in for X and see if it'll work out. So 59 times 2, we already know that's going to give me 118, but we can redo it. 59 times 2 just to double check. Yes, it is 118. So we are not done. We have to do something else to get our C. We want to get 168. So we need to figure out what we need to add to 118 to get 168. So I'm going to actually subtract in order to find the difference. That is 50. So I have to add 50 to get the 168. So it will be 59x plus 50 as our rule. Sorry, 59D. I don't know why I put the D in the M. Sorry about that. Those should have been switched. Okay, so this is 59D, 59 days, 59 times your days, and then add 50, and then that'll equal your total cost. So C is equal to 59 times the number of days plus 50. And you could put each of these days in for X, and see if you get your total cost. So 59 times 4 plus 50 should give you 286. So just to double check that we got it correct, 59 times 4 gives me 236 plus 50 gives me 286, which is correct. So this is the correct equation. Compare the following functions to answer the questions. What is the rate of change or the slope for function A? Well, that is 7. What is the rate of change for function B? To get from 16 to 28, that's 12, adding 12. And then 28 to 40, add 12. 4 to 6 plus 2, 6 to 8 plus 2. So 12 over 2, which is equal to 6. So function B is 6. And then function C is 10 over 2. So 10 over 2 equals 5. So function C is 5. What function has the greatest rate of change? That would be function A. Okay? 65. The table below shows 2 collinear points. Complete the table with a third point that is also on the line. So I'm going to see how much I'm adding here. 12 to 19, I'm adding 7. So then we want to add 7 to 19 to get 26. Here, from negative 11 to negative 7, we are adding 4. So again, we want to add 4 to negative 7, and we would get negative 3. So negative 3, 26. Okay, and the last one, it says, in the figure below, a 14-foot lamppost casts a shadow on the ground. How long is the shadow in feet? Round to the nearest tenth if necessary. Again, this is just a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Our a squared we don't know. Our b squared is 14 squared, and then our c squared is 16 squared. So, 14 times 14 is 196. 16 squared is 256. So to solve this, we want to start by getting a squared by itself, so we are going to subtract both sides by 196. And then we have a squared is equal to 256 minus 196, which is 60. And then to find a, we just want to find the square root of 60. Come on. My calculator is being difficult. Okay. So then we have this long number, and it said round to the nearest tenth. So this 7 is in the tenths place. We look back. That 4 is not enough to bump that 7 up. So our answer is 7 7/10 feet. Okay, and that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys are doing fantastic. I miss you guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I hopefully will see you soon.